On its simplest level, an agnostic atheist is someone that does not actively believe in a God, but also acknowledges that it's impossible to prove that God doesn't exist. For me personally, I call myself an agnostic atheist because when I left the church, one of the things that I really didn't like about it was how certain everyone was about their worldview and how the mere idea of doubting something or questioning something was considered some sort of breach of faith. I remember hearing the story of doubting Thomas and everyone being like, oh yeah, that was a really bad thing he did. And I just thought, he's the only one who behaved rationally in the entire bunch. But when you go around and just call yourself an agnostic, what people hear is they hear he hasn't made up his mind yet. He's not sure. And so they start trying to convert you back to the church and bring you back in. And the thing is my mind is made up about the version of God I was given by the Catholic Church. I think it's bullshit, and I'm not really interested in engaging with it at all for the rest of my life. So for a while, I went around calling myself an atheist, but that didn't really work either. For one thing, it identified me with people like Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, and they're people that I don't really agree with politically on a lot of things and just like fundamentally on a lot of levels. And then the other thing is that some people would occasionally offer me a definition of God, like Einstein's definition of God, that I would be like, yeah, I could get on board with that. As I've gotten older, I've also gotten a lot less angry at religion for what it subjected me to when I was growing up. I left the church when I was like 15 years old. I'm 37 now. So like it's been most of my life that I haven't been believing in God. And I no longer want the way I define myself to be by what I don't believe instead of by what I do believe. What I do believe is that humans are incredibly smart creatures who maybe haven't come to terms with the fact that they can't really comprehend everything about the universe. We wouldn't have a hard time, coming to terms with the fact that a dog might not be able to figure out the theory of relativity. There are fundamental facts about this universe that our brains aren't capable of grasping. When you start reading about quantum physics or about chaos theory, you start to realize that the world is so much weirder and so much less predictable than we possibly could have ever imagined. And the religious impulse, when confronted with this weirdness and unpredictability, is to try and explain it with God and just say, oh, well, that's just God at work over there. And I think that it's possible that we just may never know the answer to that. And I think it's probably a really healthy thing to just say, sometimes I just don't know. My absolute favorite thing about humanity is just how endlessly curious we are. When we are confronted with a problem, we can't help ourselves. We just have to jump in there and try and figure it out. We develop new theories, we develop new experiments, we argue with each other endlessly. We learn as much as we possibly can until one day there's a breakthrough and they solve the problem and we realize that behind that problem is an even bigger, even more incomprehensible problem. And what humans do is they immediately start trying to figure out that problem too. All of the amazing things that we've done as a species, whether or not that is learning how to hunt, learning how to grow food for ourselves, learning how to navigate by the stars, learning how to make penicillin, or learning how to go to the moon, all of that comes from that core discomfort at the center of us when we say the words, I don't know. Because when we say, I don't know, our immediate impulse is to say, well, then let's find out. When people can't sit in the discomfort of just not knowing all of the answers, they tend to retreat into fundamentalisms, whether those are religious or political, that make them think that they know everything about everything and that their way of believing is 100% the right way. And as someone whose background is in human rights, I can say that pretty much all of the worst things that have ever happened to humanity have happened at the hands of people who are 100% certain they are doing the right thing. So for my money, if you have to live by, one, maxim, I would just choose the three. We'll make it four. We'll make it 4 words. The 4 words, I don't fucking know.